Councillor Annie Brewster, you're a long-time friend of Radio Verulam, and you're someone within Hertfordshire that wears many, many hats, numerous hats. Can you please tell us a little bit about your roles?
Well, yes, hello. My roles are quite complex. So I've been a parish district and now county councillor, been mayor of St Albans quite a few years ago, and portfolio holders for various things at district council. And now I'm executive deputy portfolio holder for public health and prevention at Hertfordshire County Council. But I'm not sure residents need to know the titles. It's more about actually being able to cover what is really important during this crisis that we're facing now.
Speaking of the crisis, county councillors have a locality budget where they can put money towards organisations that they feel are of great value to the community, and we are so grateful to you for putting forward £500 towards Radio Verulam to help us keep going. What is it about Radio Verulam and being a community station that made you feel it was something worthwhile to donate to?
Well, you're very sweet. It's a complete no-brainer. Generally, because Radio Verulam is our friend in whatever we do, and you support every initiative locally, and it's where the real local news is to be heard. But particularly now, I'm very concerned about our stoic Brits, particularly our older residents, perhaps, who aren't online, who would not be aware as how to get help unless they can even hear a phone number that you could give out over your airwaves. So I think you're more important than ever to be part of the communication for people who are isolated.
Sandy Walkington, you are a county councillor within St Albans, and your area is St Albans South, Sopwell and Verulam, which I reside in and know your work very well. You have kindly facilitated a £500 grant from the locality budget towards keeping Radio Verulam alive, and we are incredibly grateful to you for that. What is it about local community organisations like our station that are of importance to you as a county councillor?
Well, the first thing to say is thank you to Radio Verulam. It's incredibly important. I think it's one of only 2 community radio stations in Hertfordshire. There's also BBC Local Radio 3 Counties. I was on their programme yesterday afternoon, as it happens. But because they cover Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire and Buckinghamshire, it's much less local in field. So Radio Verulam is really important. And one of the, I think, challenges for local media is how they will survive this whole exercise. If you talk about the local newspapers like the Herts Advertiser, they are tremendously dependent on advertising. And of course, advertising has just virtually stopped. So it's really important that we do support people like yourselves. And I just want to say thank you, Leona, because you're a volunteer. Everybody else involved in Radio Verulam are volunteers, and you're heroes. So thank you.
Caroline Klepper, you're a county councillor for Watling, and that covers the areas of Radlett, Aldenham and Elstree, and you're also the borough councillor and portfolio holder for leisure, culture and health. So you've got a lot on your plate. However, you and I are chatting today as you've kindly facilitated a £500 grant to Radio Verulam from your locality budget, which we are very grateful for. What is it about local community organisations like Radio Verulam that you feel are important to be looked after at this time?
Okay, well, I think community radio is really, really important. I'm also acutely aware that at the moment it's a very difficult time for a community radio station to operate. But I've always felt that the information that they provide to people locally is not only really important, but I also feel really strongly about the work that you guys do with the Talking newspaper. And for those of you who don't know what the Talking newspaper is, it's a newspaper that's basically for blind or partially sighted people. And I really love the fact that people within our community who don't necessarily have the same kind of access to things that everybody else does has the opportunity, particularly now, to also be kept updated with that information.
John Hale, you're a county councillor for Coney Heath and Marshallwick, and we are in conversation as you've kindly facilitated a £500 grant to Radio Verulam from the locality budget, which we are incredibly grateful for. What is it about local community radio that you think is valuable to the residents of our area?
Well, Leona, the county budget scheme, which is run by the county council, is there to help organisations of all sorts and sizes within, the local area. And normally it only starts up in about June each year, and we give grants to people like the Women's Institute or to local Scouts groups and churches. But the county council opened it up early this financial year to support organisations like Radio Verulam, who are providing a very useful lifeline for people wanting to get information about the coronavirus and how it's impacting all of our lives. And I know it's impacted the radio station with reducing your income stream significantly, and having local radio is so vital to a community as a means of just everybody keeping in touch.